Hello, everyone. I am Mark Adam. Welcome to another episode of the WPG's The Landing Zone, the LZ Sports Show, the place we talk sports. It's home base for a lot of us. I am Mark Adam. I am going to be joined today by a couple of people, one of whom you are all too familiar with. This is the Keith McKnight, all the way from his home, socially distanced and whatnot. And speaking of distance, from even farther away, I don't know what's going on there. Hello? Why is
Yeah.
why is that going on?
Well, that's a great segue
That
to
was
introduce
super
our next guest. That was the
Which also
best
describes the next guest. Yes.
Why is
Oh,
Oh, that's why.
are the gremlins
I
back?
don't know. That was really weird.
No, this is weird too.
Yeah. Anyway, it's you. You're here. This is Neutral Sonar,
Yeah.
editor and friend of the LZ
Hello,
Sports Show.
everyone.
Uncertain why that other stuff was going on, but here we are. So that was really weird. We're not coming soon. We have started. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Shall we not? Huh?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Let's go.
So we missed last week, but we did have a quick update from Keith McKnight. Thank you for doing that, sir. That was awesome. We've got a lot to
Well, that's
talk
why they
about.
pay me the right. That's why they pay me the big bucks. So I mean, I can't. That's what I got to do it for.
Oh, I know. That's how you can afford that tie. But let's get into it here. First up, let's talk about Nate Schmidt. Got a side hustle going. I'm going to let you go full on it there, Mr. McKnight. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So like, what was it? Short Hockey Company. That's what the company name was called. He partnered up with one of his best friends and just wanted to give back to the community that helped him get where he is. Because when I was reading the article about, who he partnered with and exactly the project, two things. It's like he comes from a business background because his parents ran a local chain of gas station and convenience stores called Schmidt's in the St. Cloud, Minnesota area. And with the amount of trips that I have personally made to Minneapolis to visit one of our good friends and fans of Dr. Kumar Ramnath, who lives in Coon Rapids, St. Cloud is on the way. And then here I am just, pulling into any gas station. I really want to make a trip now when the border is open to see if Schmidt's is still around and, to support Nate Schmidt and his family there. But nonetheless, that hockey tape venture that he has going, it's pretty cool that, he's partnered up with some best friends of his. It has a lot to do with his background with his business degree that he had when he played with the University of Minnesota. So he's really happy that he's able to work on his pitch. And it's a good rebound for him, too, because he mentioned that he tried to create a drink in college with an alcoholic beverage with some of his friends there that was almost similar to Twisted Tea, he mentioned. It was like beer infused with black tea. And I was like, oh, wow. And then he said it didn't work out. So it's nice to see that, he didn't give up on his business ways, he would be turned away. And hockey, I saw that ESPN, I'm sure you both did as well, that ESPN helped professional athletes go broke. And hockey players were the last ones to go, like they were not talked about very much in this documentary. And it was very impressive. And it shows that, they put their money to good usage. And even though the contracts are not as big and lucrative that you would see in the MLB, let alone the NFL or the NBA, these guys do not go broke. And it shows that, getting their money involved with other things is why they're able to, maintain a good lifestyle after their playing days are over. Because, for them to make that transition and to understand that, with, comes with, with wealth and great money, comes responsibility as well. And it's good to see that they have had that coaching from the NHL.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see guys, who a lot of NHLers don't have that university background to sort of fall on. And yet, as you said, they make a lot less than other professional athletes might, but they do so in a way, I guess maybe having less it forces you to be a little better with your money. I'm not sure. Maybe there's something to like that. What are your thoughts there, Zoner?
I think some of it's not reported as much too. NHL doesn't get the same press, at least not south of the border, right? So there's less people wondering what happened to this player or that player. But there's a few high-profile guys in the past, in the present too. Actually, there's one forward from the San Jose Sharks who recently declared bankruptcy. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
After a few untimely wagers.
Fantastic comment. It's just the truth, right?
Yeah. And even Jaromir Jagr recently, like he's taken over his dad's team. He's also had a few gambling debts in his past, but now his money's sunk in his dad's team, and he's feeling the pressure to play until he's
a bazillion
over 55, right? Like because he's afraid that if he retires, all the sponsors are going to pull out. So there's a few high-profile guys out there who are having some money issues. The last one I thought of, who was actually in that ESPN documentary you're mentioning, is Jack Johnson, right?
Of the Lightning.
Yeah. Seen the Lightning now? Yeah, I think so.
Am I wrong?
His case was quite sad because it was his parents who stole it from him, right? It wasn't he was a crooked manager,
Jacket, right?
Pardon me?
He played for the Columbus Blue Jackets, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. He, for a long time. I think he's last with the Rangers.
Hold on.
That's a sad thing. You know, you've heard that where parents have taken their kids' fortune, even in other industries, let alone, professional sports. And I'm just, it's really impressive that Nate Schmidt, and he's so happy about it too, because the one thing that stuck out with me about that article is like my pitch has gotten so much better from the first time. So it shows that no matter what, I don't know, because like everybody, he's an elite NHL hockey player, but it shows that no matter how elite you are in one market, you may not be as good in another. And he openly admitted that, and he just wanted to get better, and he admitted that he had a failure. And it's just so cool that somebody on that magnitude and on that level can be like, all right, look, man, I sucked at something and I'm still trying here. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, just looking at it, he makes he's got a $5 million contract. Is that still active?
Think so.
With the Vancouver Canucks, I guess they still have to pay him.
5.9.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
Cap Friendly has him at 5.95.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
So hopefully, if he's removed himself from that situation, those millions of dollars can float him for a while.
Jump
The
to
one
Nate.
thing I'd like to get off my. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry, Zoner. Go ahead.
No, I was just quick asking, are you talking about Nate Schmidt still, or are you talking about Jack Johnson? Oh, no, he's making much less. He's only making like $1 million.
I'm confused now. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I got confused.
Jack Johnson's making like $1 million.
Where is it?
So he's in the NHL poverty line.
It says 3.25 mil.
The poverty line of the NHL.
It says 3 million here for him.
You know what I mean?
Oh, wait. I'm confused about how this works now, because he's got two 2021-2022 contracts listed, one of which is with the Rangers here for 1.15 mil.
So there's like a cap hit, and then there's like the math is quite confusing.
Well, no, but I mean, if you look if you go to Cap Friendly, it lists him with the Penguins through to 2023, but he's got a different contract going on with the Rangers at 1.15.
Rangers? Yeah. Well,
buyout. His contract was bought out by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
October 5th,
so
2020.
they probably still owe him money.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, there we go. So even if he doesn't play, he's getting $900,000 a year.
Well, there you go.
Oh, that's money galore. That's money galore, right?
Well, that's
half a house in Vancouver.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
Right, you're totally right. That is.
And I think it's funny we're talking about a guy being poor with $1.15 million coming in the door this year. You know what I mean? Like, must be tough.
And I love how you're saying that, because I was creeping out on some real estate in New York the other day, and I was like, wow, $3,000 US for rent in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom in Queens. And just think about, I'm just talking about distance. I don't care about the environment or whatever it may look like. I'm just that's how far it may be from the show in New York and Manhattan and Madison Square Garden. $3,000 for rent a month. Oh my gosh, you got to be working night and day.
Yeah.
Or or a second liner in the Rangers.
There you go. Exactly. Who don't have tape jobs like this?
No, your tape job is a travesty.
Well, not a travesty, okay? Not anymore.
Well, you fixed one out of the three things that were wrong with it, so it's good. It's improvement.
Thank you, sir. At least there's some support here right now.
It's a step.
Thank you.
It's a step.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. For those of you who've got high def, or I don't know if we're streaming in 4K, but if you show that tape job up a little bit, maybe you can. We'll get the viewers to text us later.
I am so glad you could see
how many things are wrong they can see.
Look how TV is gone. I'm so glad you noticed the bumps, the kinks, and everything I should have smoothed and ironed out in there. That's great.
That's HD, baby.
I
That's
love
HD.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, talk about, I only got my first smartphone like a year ago. I just got my first smartwatch because my uncle bought it for me for Christmas. Like, it's time for me to get smart.
Is that
now.
a smartwatch or is that one of those ones from Wish?
It's a smartwatch.
Welcome to 2021.
Yeah, right?
It connects to. I can take calls on it. It's
like you just popped in a DeLorean and you're looking around the streets. And,
that's yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm so far behind on it. I still plug a cord into the printer because I didn't know that it could connect by like Wi-Fi. So I only figured that out a little while ago.
Well, we're glad you figured it out. Just so you know, if you're watching along, you can chat along in our YouTube chat, and we will try and reply to you as we go. So if you're watching, feel free to do that. We also we do have our chat box that we show sometimes, but yeah, we can fire these messages up on the screen like that. So it's a lot of fun if you feel like joining in. We used to get a lot more viewership when we were doing the Jets stuff the day after the Jets games. People were like amped up for it. Everybody's taking the summer off here in Winnipeg. So
we really did.
Yeah, but
it's really
the next thing, Dale Howardchuk Way is coming. We talked about this on the show before. I like that, Dale Howardchuk had some humorous thoughts about, because when he found out he was dying, he was fighting cancer and all that, they were talking about stuff like that. Apparently he said that he wants the statue to be of him back checking. He thought that would be funny. And then he said, Zinger already told me there's no chance they're going to find any video or pictures of him back checking. So I just thought that's such a great sense of humor, I think that's great.
But Dave, let's hey, you know what? Even though I know nothing about the guy, I'm sure that there was a lot of instances where he was just, going forward that he didn't need to back check because it was probably a good scoring opportunity. And I don't know, Dale Howardchuk, I don't know, man. He was really something special for those five. Like I said, for the five, I'm not going to get onto a rant because I want to give Zoner I want to hear Zoner's thoughts on him too. But the couple minutes that I had to just shake his hand and listen to him, like, man, this is why the city loves this guy.
Yeah, Ducky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Ducky thing too. Then they introduced me to that after he left, and I'm just like, man, you learn something new every day. About this guy, especially if you don't know him. So I was so grateful. Just special person.
But I'm really pumped because they're gonna name part of a big section of the street Dale Howardchuk Way in his honor, and they're gonna put his statue up in the probably not of him back checking in the square. And there's all this and the license plate, you can get custom license plates. So I'm pretty interested to see how all that comes.
Whoever gets the first one for that is going to be very pumped. Very, very pumped.
I'm pretty sure it's already spoken for. They've probably got the first, at least
I'm
50 of them figured out.
I'm sure Mark Shipman gets the first one.
Yeah, he gets first crack.
Zinger probably gets the second one, yeah. Maybe a quick comment about the back checking. For those of you who are younger, who weren't around or whatever, but so when Howardchuk left the Jets, it was not under the best circumstances. There was rumors that he wanted out, and the reason being is that this is a different era in hockey. Back then, the first line played a ton of minutes, and it was not uncommon for a star to have like a 90-second shift, 2-minute shift. That was not uncommon. The new coach, he was a little bit forward thinking, and he was rolling 4 lines, and that was new back then. That was radical, and Howard Chuck was a little bit upset about that new change in direction, and also the fact that the new coach was hoping everyone would be a two-way player, which again at that time was not. Nowadays, like, that's just normal, right? Steve Eiersman actually helped make that normal, but back then it was very unusual, and so Howard Chuck didn't like the direction. So I think that comment about the back checking was a little bit of a reflection to that. But I think it speaks to how beloved he is in this community, that even though he didn't quite leave the way he wanted to leave, but the city very quickly forgave him, right, for that. And similar with Teemu Selanne too, who actually totally different story, but right, like when he comes back, he still gets love. And with Howard Chuck, he came back and he still got the standing ovations, and he was not reviled, he was not hated. It's funny how Winnipeg just gravitated to him. He definitely was the face of the franchise for Jets 1.0, and in hindsight, it seemed like a no-brainer. Like just his personality, the way he talked, the way he was quite understated and was not a flashy guy. It all fits, and then he was also imperfect, which is kind of fits too. Like even apparently he hated it, and one of the reasons being people. When he was a kid, it wasn't just the name, right? Dale Howard Chuck. It was also the way he skated. So if you dig up some old video of him skating, he had a really wide stance, and he looked almost like he's wobbling a bit, left, right, back, forth, and which was
duck
it
waddle.
looked kind of ugly, but yeah, the duck waddle. But you know what? It worked for him. He was not the fastest guy, but he beat a lot of guys one-on-one using the duck waddle. So
it's number 1 draft pick, right? So
yeah,
right, that's a big deal, and the fact that he was able to live up to it, because I don't know how many NHL draft picks who were number 1 didn't live up to the hype and became busts. But me coming from an NBA and basketball background, I can tell you that there were a lot of guys who came in number 1 who just I don't want to say never, but just did not pan out. Right? And
there's been a few.
Yeah, exactly. And Dale Howard Chuck lived up to all of the hype. Right, and good for him. When I saw him come out when the Jets introduced, when they hung his jersey up, they gave him that blazer. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like, I want one of those Jets blazers. But like, it's like they're trying to do what the Leafs did, right? Where you have a blazer with the Leafs, and you have to earn one of those, and rightfully so. If there's anybody to have that be introduced for the Jets, it's Dale Howard Chuck for sure. I know nothing about him, but he was such a nice person.
He's beloved in the city, obviously, and it's always fun to talk about him. By the way, on the Jets front, there is, the season schedule has been announced for next year's NHL schedule, so tickets are on sale. Go get yours now if you haven't already. You can go to, I think, just winnipegjets.com or nhl.com/jets. It's the same website. Depends on how you want to get there, but they have all their season tickets and stuff on sale. So if you're interested, you want to get on that quick, because with the lack of going to games we saw last year, you can bet that this year tickets will be a little harder to come by. So get on that quick, you Jets fans. And
before you actually even change the subject about that, and I heard this on the radio the other day, and I was like, oh, that is going to make things competitive. I'm not trying to pretend I can flex and I have all this money in the world, but the one thing that I did notice in the United States, like when I went to a couple NBA games, is that they did offer those packages that the Jets are offering now, where you could get decent seats for, I believe, at less than $59 a ticket in some packages, and that is going to make things very competitive for everybody. And on top of that too, regardless of the cost of what it takes to go to a Moose game, which that's what the Moose are there for, so the average family can just not worry about any economics about it. It's just when the Jets have opened this up now, where some ticket packages are going to go where tickets are going to be less than $60. I was like, oh, you know what? They're really making progress here. They're really, like, in the sense of that, where they can open up the market for some other fans here and make it easier for people just to be like, oh man, like the Jets, like why not try this?
Yeah. I really like the way that they've got the packages set up, and they have different packages that I was looking at. One is called like the Rivals, where it's mostly like interdivisional play, and then there's one it's called the Weekender package, and you can like it's all games on weekends, because if you're going to buy games you got to be able to go to them, and a lot of people work through the week, and it's becoming it's becoming a lot more normal as well for people not to work 9 to 5, right? It's becoming a lot more normal for people to be working, maybe they don't wake up till 11 a.m. this guy, and then you start work at noon and you work till 10, 11, whatever at night. So it's becoming a lot more normal. And so I think moving games to the weekend is a good idea for some people. They had a couple other packages there too. Anyway, just go check them out. NHL.com/Jets and/or WinnipegJets.com. It sounds like they sponsor us. They do not. But who does is these people above my head up here. This is Aquatech Pool Spa Bath. They are great. We appreciate them very much. So support them too. If you need, it's not time to open any pools up, but we're getting into that renovate your bathroom season, because it's going to be too cold to go outside and all that. So if you're doing renovations now, you're going to do stuff on the inside. So get on them. They've made some really cool stuff, and we will run their ad in a little while. I just wanted to point out and say thank you to them. Also, I do want to mention while we're here, social media. You can follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Just today, I blocked a hate raider on Twitch that was about to join our stream, which I learned about on TikTok of all freaking places. Now, that leads me to another question that I want to ask after, but you can also call or text the WPG Sports line 431-800-4555, and you can also email the LZ at thewpg.ca. We would love to hear from you. But just on that point about that Twitch.
We're all about positivity.
Well,
I'm so glad.
But there was a hate raider, which I didn't know was a thing.
You a hate raider, like, you know what? We don't send out any hate to anybody. Look at all the articles Zoner produces for us. It's just like they're like these beautiful articles that have so many good analytics. We don't hate on anything that the Jets that we may not agree with as a team here or even personally. And then I'm so glad. Thank you for doing that. Should we have a TikTok account for the WPG or for WPG Sports or something? I don't know. We'll talk about it another time. But anyway, that's a legit question. I don't know. Is TikTok sticking around, you figure? It's pretty addictive. I think so. If I get on it, they'll stick around. Watch this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to get on it. I'm getting on it, and watch this. I'm going to bring the shares up from down here to up here. I'm telling you, their stock's going up the second I get on that.
Yep. Clearly, that is how that will work. That's not delusional in any kind of way. It's all good.
Not at all.
So moving on, sticking with the Jets for a little bit here. Why don't you go on a bit about Nikolai Ehlers and his Danish Olympic qualifying hopes, Mr.
Well,
McKnight?
they just damaged Korea's, they just damaged them up, and Ehlers came out with 6 points in the entire game, and it's just when he has such a chance to expose his talents like that, it just shows that why the Jets got him, why the Jets need to hold on to him, and why the Jets should, he's somebody that should be included in building this franchise around and moving forward, right? Regardless of whatever veterans are on their way out in the sense of age or whoever it is. And I'm not picking on Scheifele here, guys, okay? I'm just saying in the sense of time and age. It's just they brought in Ehlers here in 2014, I believe it was. And he came in and I was like, oh my gosh. I think the first time I saw him take the ice might have been on TV, obviously. And then when I saw him play live, I was like, whoa, this kid's really good. He's well coached, and I'm on the bandwagon for the Halifax Mooseheads because of Mark, you being a season ticket holder. But you have good talent coming out of them. So whatever they're doing over there, right? They're doing something right, Forget about the drama that Drouin brought in. He's a good player. Then you had Nate McKinnon come out of that program. Look where he is. Then you have Nikolai Ehlers, who is a household name here in this city and province. And on top of that, when the Jets go into another team's arena, he's on their scouting report. It's like, okay, we got to watch out for this guy if he's there. Like, they almost hope that he is injured. And thankfully for us, as Jets fans, he's not. And thankfully for the Jets, management and everyone in the press box, he's not. So for him to dominate the way he did for Denmark, it's just going to open up more avenues for him to be like, okay, we got to pay attention to this kid.
Yeah, but what happens if the NHL decides at the last minute, oh, we're not sending any NHLers to the Olympics, and then they're without an Ehlers, who is basically the team, So anyway, that's the problem there. But I do want to point out that Denmark is in a qualifying group with Slovenia, who they beat 4-3. Korea, who you mentioned, they beat the snot out of, and then Norway is the other group other team in that group. So pretty all right.
But nonetheless, forget about maybe not on paper that these guys may not be the best ripe competition that they're playing against, but I'm just glad he's showing up. He's delivering. He's like, look. I'm just going to be who I am. I'm going to live up to my talents and my expertise. You know what I'm saying, Zoner? It's just he's just not going to shy away from, showing up. He's going to look, I'm good. So let's just win. And that's just going to show a lot of good things for the Jets, I think. That he has that mentality. He's like, look, I just want to win. And he's that type of player. He really is that type of player.
Yeah, he's a guy that'll change games. When he's on his game in the NHL, he can change games. So in an international match, it's very likely that more often than not, he's the best player on the ice. So yeah, and then
especially on his own team. Yeah.
Well, especially from Denmark, where they have they've literally the stat that blew my mind was they have 5 times as many handball players as they do hockey players in Denmark. European handball is a huge game over there. I totally get it. But 5 times as many handball players as hockey players. That's
maybe I should get citizenship there. Maybe I could qualify for their national team.
Their hockey team, you mean?
Yeah, why not?
I was going to say because their handball, right? the handball competition is.
The handball team is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. That handball thing is hard. I played in gym class with that. I don't want to be in front of that.
It is hard. That is a hard game to play.
Yeah.
It really is. Whoever doesn't understand it, it just clearly hasn't, one, they don't understand, they haven't played it. And I was like, you know what? That's a hard sport. I do not want to be in front of that because those guys throw that ball.
Yeah.
They jump.
Yeah. Now, basically what it is water polo without the water, but it's really intense. It's fast paced. The cardio required to do it at the level these guys are doing it at the professional level, insane. So, mad respect. I'm not trying to trash talk handball players. I'm just saying it's super funny to think how many of them there are versus hockey players in a country like Denmark, which, you would think would excel at winter sports.
You're going to look. One thing I wanted to share with the both of you, and Zoner is going to be like, yes, because cricket is a big sport in BC. There was a friend of mine, Paul Zeisman, who made the national team under 19 in 2002 that played for Canada at the under 19 World Cup. And when, how in sports, trading jerseys and hats are a thing, he traded his hat with the captain of Denmark and then gave that hat to me. And then me just being irresponsible and not realizing how cool that actually is. I just don't know where that hat is now. I hope somebody better than me has it.
Well, that's rough. That's a sad story.
It is rough.
So
it is rough.
This show is part sports, part Keith dumping his heart out.
Yes. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's very it's a real life thing here right now.
I'm super glad to offer you the avenue with which you can self-therapize. But It's just
a clinical psychologist is going to charge me $250 an hour. Those guys were those guys. I'm just kidding. Anyways, next topic.
But it's just funny to me that you got a guy like. Is there anybody else on the Danish team that is in the NHL and or drafted by the NHL? I don't know. I'm legit asking this question.
We're going to have to do that. That's something that we're both going to have to talk about for the next show because props to him to come. You know, when you say that, right? Like for a market to be dominant with handball at 5 times the players and then him just to make a name for himself. Good for him.
Well,
like
not just make a name for himself.
Him, you know?
The guy shows up when he plays hockey for Denmark. He's the $6 million man. He makes $6 million a year in the NHL because he's that good. And he turns around and he just goes and, you know, gets to fart around with some international, just destroying Korea, who's, you know, a big hockey power. You know, a little facetious there, but
hey, John Pack, you got to give him love because he's a former NHL player. He just wants the Korean national team to grow. I've read a lot of articles with him, and I think he probably takes that loss and the exposure. Oh my God, he's probably so excited those guys had the chance to play against a player like Nikolai.
Well, that's also a good way to look at it. But you know what's funny? I had a friend that, and I was like, do you know a single Korean hockey player? And he's like, Paul Korea? And I was like, nope.
Oh my God, I'm done. I
thought that was pretty good. I don't know, but congratulations to him and the. I think it's 12 teams that qualify for the Olympics, right?
And Denmark's going. Your boy's going, buddy.
Well, yeah.
You saw this guy play junior hockey, Mark. Okay, major junior, right? Major junior, and you know, like. That's so
But
cool.
I'm also excited Latvia's in and Germany's in. Love it. I love it. You know, and because when we watch the World Juniors, it's 10 teams. And so you got like, and I like that they cut it off at 10 because at that level, especially like that age level, they're just those last 2 teams, if they had 12 teams, would just get mopped, you know? It wouldn't be nice, is my point. No. So I like that they kept it. Well, exposure means a lot unless you lose every game 12-0, at which point it's just embarrassing. Like it's like, yay, we're getting scored on by, you know, I don't know, Braden Shen or whoever the hell's playing there. But like, you know, at the time. But then like it's embarrassing when you lose every single game by like double digits. So I like that they cut it at 10. The Olympics, grown men, little different. You can get away with there's a little more talent developed at that point. But Latvia and Denmark will probably struggle. The host country, China, I can't imagine it. They might have a couple upset wins, but like, is there a team that has qualified that you think China could beat? Because I don't think so. Okay, Canada, the Russian Olympic Committee, which is basically Russia, that whole thing, I don't even want to get into that. It makes me so angry. They got banned from the Olympics, but they're allowed to compete as Russian Olympic, like independent, whatever.
Like OAR. Question for the both of you. So it's 2021, so that means the Winter Olympics are next year, because technically speaking, the Tokyo Olympics are 2020, right? Like that doesn't postpone.
No.
Like
no.
Okay.
And then the Summer Olympics should be 2024 again to get back on the 4-year track.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good times.
I just think the because like you saw the NHL going to Beijing and Shanghai doing the NHL China series. I really think that the way that the players were impressed with the support that they got just for those couple preseason games, that this might be good for the economic. Like I think I think just the residents of China are just going to be like, look, like we're going to go to this. Like this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to do wonders for the game. I really do.
But I think it may be detrimental to China on the hockey front if they get blown out of every game, and like if Denmark walks in and beats you 6-0, like that's rough.
What I meant by is, like, regardless if China's playing, I just think that no matter what teams are playing, I just think that, you know, the community is just going to be like, oh, let's go look at this town. Let's go look at that. Like, it's just going to be very well supported, no matter who's playing. I'm just thinking outside of the China national hockey team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Olympic specifics, that might not be a good time for the Chinese hockey team. But you never know. I mean, I've been very wrong before.
The expectations are not there either.
Well, that's
right?
true.
So I mean, if their athletes fail at figure skating, it'd be a big deal. But hockey, they know that they're just there to show up. And I think the genuine hockey fans in China, they're more interested to see the NHLers. So it's hard. I don't think they have a formal agreement yet. Still, do they?
I don't think so either. That's why I'm saying, like, so, what if Ehlers can't go, and then Denmark is like
they're hoop,
right?
Up in arms.
Like, what is the point?
It's not even a fan base thing at that point. It's like like the management of the Olympic Committee is like, oh my god, like our top player, like we can't take him.
Yeah,
but that's happened before, right? That happened last time in South Korea.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was. Yeah. It was odd.
Since we're on the topic, since we're on the topic for the both of you, and Zoner, what do you both think about Olympic players not being included in the Olympics? Are you for it or are you against it? If that's too much of a question, and I don't want
NHL players.
Yeah, I don't want you to get political about it. I just think that
I think it's a little. Gary Bettman should shut up and let them play. I think he got greedy about it. He got money about it, and he it wasn't about the politics. It was about the money. It was, well, our players are worth the most, so if you want our players, you have to pay us. Like, it was just a power move, and Gary Bettman's a dick. Is basically that's my take.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jordan, what about you?
I agree wholeheartedly.
So you both agree that NHL players should be included in the Olympics?
100%.
Yes. The only thing preventing it is really the power play.
That's so crazy.
It's Gary Bettman's ego. It's Gary Bettman's ego. It isn't politics. It's money, and it's because that money is the excuse. Money is the excuse Gary Bettman is using, but it's all about his ego. That is the way I see it. Every time I read an article about it, I'm just like, shut up, Gary, let him play. Shut up, Gary. Like, it's stupid.
Let me ask you both this. So where does this come from all of a sudden? Because even though that, like, I just started playing hockey, as a kid growing up, you just knew that NHL players were going to represent Canada. Like, 98, you saw that, and when they went to Salt Lake City, you saw that. They went to Torino in 2006, you saw that. And it's like 2010, they went to Vancouver, you saw that. So it's just like, you had all this time to complain, and I just don't know, like, where all of a sudden it comes from, where you want to hold these players back from representing this country. And that's where I ask the both of you to help me understand that. Because I don't. Because you had all this time. You sent all these guys to Olympics where, everybody was up in arms where, Mark Crawford didn't let Wayne Gretzky shoot in the shootout in 98, where they ended up losing to Czechoslovakia, and then Czechoslovakia went on to beat whoever it was and to win the gold medal. Then on top of that, they went to Salt Lake City and then they had to rebound in Vancouver, and that's where Sid the Kid, the golden goal. And it's just, why are you complaining now? You had all this time.
Oh no, it's every year's been a struggle, Keith.
Okay, so clearly
this is not new. This is not a new thing.
It's not a new thing, really.
Maybe a brief answer is 98 Nagano was kind of a warm up for Salt Lake City, because Bettman knew that, American soil, Olympic hockey. Yeah, we've got TV begging for it. Let's get it. But it
makes me sad that Gary Bettman's power goes back that far into our history.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How many years?
Shameful.
Well, over 20, 25 years. Yeah.
He's the most awkward human
it's
being
about
I've
power.
ever met. Like, I just picture him in high school being the kid that, like, the kids that get pick on Gary Bettman. Like, I just
Is that how bad?
I just the impression I get from who he is as a human being, and he had that like chip on his shoulder, like I'll show him when I have all the money and can make all the decisions one day. You know, like he's just got that attitude of like, you know, this is my show now. This is my time. This is why I got picked on so much so that I could become this person. You know, he's just I don't.
He was interviewed in Vancouver Sports Radio a few years back, and the answer to the question he gave an answer which was very odd. He said it was not always thus. Like that's how he began his answer, and I was like, "Who talks like that?"
What?
It was not always thus. Yeah, like it wasn't always this way. Like why did he just said it was not always thus?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
He just
Right.
He just strikes me as a guy who every single day takes lessons on how to talk to human beings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just,
Yeah.
like he's just every single time somebody wins the Stanley Cup or whatever, and he comes out and he gives this stupid little speech.
Yeah.
It's always the most awkward exchange you can ever imagine. Every single time, like without fail, go search YouTube because I'm sure somebody's super cut it. Like every Stanley Cup presentation speech by Gary Bettman. Just look at them all every single year, and he doesn't get any better. It's just as awkward every single year. Like, how do you not get at least a little better?
And yet the stranglehold he has on this league
drives me nuts.
It's airtight.
Well, it's because
amazing. There's never been dissension
on the
right?
business
like the
side.
Owners have always
The owners, exactly.
Yeah.
He is the owner's commissioner.
So it's true, right? And thank you for saying the owner's commission. Now, that's another question for the both of you. I was speaking with Matt Banville. He's a big sports bettor, and he works for Royal Bank Dominion Securities here downtown. And he says, yes, every commissioner works for the owners. And I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, that's the problem is he doesn't give a crap about the players. He doesn't care about the fans. He cares about the owners. And as a result of caring about the owners, he will often do things that the owners have decided they want to do for the fans. He will do things that the owners have decided to do for the players to keep the players happy. He doesn't do things for the players or for the fans. He is 100% whatever the owners want, let's make it happen.
Yeah, and like you said, he works for the owners. Okay, I get it. Thank you both. I appreciate that. It's really schooled me there.
Well, let's switch gears real quick. Let's talk Bombers really quickly here.
Yes.
Andrew Harris is making his debut later today, when the Bombers take on Calgary. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Keith McKnight?
Very surprising, and I think that I don't think he's trying to like show off or be like, all right, look, I got something to prove here. It's just when you look at it from a media standpoint, the Bombers and the Calgary Stampeders are two of the biggest cup contenders right now. And I think he just wants to, make sure that, in such a serious game, he has a good look at this team, especially with the, they had that rebound, the Argos rebounded and, beat the Bombers there after the Bombers beat the Argos here. It's just, Andrew Harris doesn't want to see his team, fall apart so early in the season. And I don't think he's like faking anything. If he wasn't ready, I don't think the medical staff would have cleared him for that. What do you both think about that?
I think this might be a case of the athlete taking control of the situation. This is a big game, right? Like you're alluding to, and he really wants in. I mean, you can only sit in the sidelines so long before he's been sidelined for a year and a half, actually, if you think of it, right?
That's
There's
true.
no season last year, so he's just dying to play. I think he did whatever possible to convince the doctors to let him play. I hope he's fine though. Like I'm really curious to see how this game goes because he's how many years in a row did he lead the league in rushing? Was it 3 straight years?
Right, and he led the league. Oh yes, exactly.
So he's an impact player for sure.
So the countdown as we do this show live 4 hours, 14 minutes to game time for the Bombers. And Harris himself, he admits that he is the words he used is he is not pleasant to be around on game days. So he said, because somebody was, there's all this stuff going on and, what Calgary might potentially do, this, that, and the other thing. And apparently Andrew said, he said, you're going to see a different Andrew on game day. I'm not worried about what they're doing. It's about myself and the guys in our room. So I like it.
Takes it very seriously, and it's not like he's like an egotistical guy. When I use the word that he's like, he takes a lot upon himself to perform. And you know what? Like, good for him. Good for him. He wants to perform for this team. He doesn't want to let the team down. He wants to earn his paycheck, and he's just wants to show out every night. And I can't take that away from the guy. I just really can't.
Yeah, and he also said, and I like that Ed Tate made that basically the headline for his article. If you go to bluebombers.com, Ed Tate's the senior writer for them. He's been a guest on the show as well. We'll have him back one day, I'm sure. But Andrew was quoted saying, "I'm going to be full of piss and vinegar on Sunday." So he's all excited about today. So I like how you get a guy amped up. That's that good. What's going to be sad is local boy Oliveira is going to get a hell of a lot less carries. What do you think?
What do you think?
I think other than his first game, he struggled a bit, right? The last 2 games against Toronto. Maybe he's still sorting himself out. But his time will come. Andrew Harris is 34 years old, right? Which he's definitely beating the odds for running backs in general. So Oliveira's time will come. He just to be patient. And the CFL too, it's such a wide open game. Even as a backup running back, you're still going to get your touches. You're still going to get your plays.
Okay, we're on the topic, and I don't mean to jump in there, but we talked about this off air. It's a good question, and it's only because I asked the University of Manitoba Bison's head coach when he came into my old workplace. And I'm a big fan of Andrew Harris. I'm a very big fan. Regardless of the backstory that we had off air, that's fine. But the question I'm trying to ask you, did he, when you say 34 years old, in NFL terms, even NHL terms, that's pretty old, right?
Well, the oldest player on the Jets is Paul Stastny at 35.
Exactly, the oldest player, right? Even when the Jets weren't good, their youngest player was 23, 24. We talked about this, right? So let me just get it off my chest. Did Andrew Harris ever have an opportunity to crack an NFL roster? And tell me if I'm stupid or not. And I'm not going to be embarrassed if you both tell me that is the most delusional thing ever.
I don't know that it's delusional. I don't particularly have any knowledge of that happening. Zoner, did that pop in?
I'm trying to think back. After his contract is up with the Lions, BC Lions, I believe he signed right away with Winnipeg. He wasn't one of those guys who took I don't remember him taking one of those tryouts with an NFL team. So he may not have had a chance. But then that sort of opens up part B of that question is, should he have that chance? Does he have the skill set, the size,
I think he's a dominant CFL running back. I don't know how much success he would have had in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. I think the NFL's changed a bit. I think I'm going to argue the opposite. I think he could have made it.
Okay.
I don't think he would dominate it, but I think he could have made it. I just did a really quick Google search, and he's not the biggest guy, but he's also not the smallest guy either in the NFL.
He's not the slowest guy, right?
Yeah, he compares fairly well with guys like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. There's a few NFL backs who are not.
You would put him in the same league
pounds,
as McCaffrey
right?
and Kamara? Because Kamara was beast his first year. I think he averaged 8 yards a carry or something. It was ridiculously higher than anyone else his first year.
So the usual argument against CFL players making the NFL is just size, just the fact that they're shorter, not as heavy. But in Harris's case, I think that's a wash. He's roughly their size.
Okay.
Very good basketball.
I see where you're going with that.
So part two. But part two is the skill set. And does he have it? So you mentioned Camara. Yeah, Camara is a bit of a unique guy, right? Like he's equally adept out of the backfield. He's super fast. He's got great hands, but he's also shifty in the backfield. He can run. But I think Harris has a little bit of that too. He's definitely not as fast as Alvin Kamara, but I think he could have had an okay career in the NFL.
But
Wow.
Kamara is also
Thank you for
26, and he came into the league like over a decade after Harris started his career. So the question there falls into: do you think that Harris would make the NFL now? Or
not now, no. I'm talking about like time machine in the
Yes.
DeLorean.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because
So
my
if he-
question was, the reason why I'm jumping in there, and I'm sorry to the both of you, is because I asked Brian Dobie this question.
Simmer down there. You're banging your microphone. Simmer down.
So yeah, I was yes. I asked Coach Brian Dobie this question Christmas 2015 or 2016. So that's a ways away, right? And I just, I asked him that genuinely, like, because he was in the CFL already for a decent amount of time, where I'm not saying he was on the tail end of his career anywhere, because who am I to say anything like, look at me. Look at my tape drops. Let's put it that way. And, it's like, I just really thought that maybe at one point he had it. So why not ask somebody who really knew that? And that's where I was saying, like, at one point, that's what I wanted to clarify. Like, definitely. No, who am I to say definitely? I'm not saying not right now. I'm just saying that was where my question was going. So thank you both.
That was the best logic circle I've ever been involved in. Okay, so just make my head spin. But I think we got there. So anyway, I'm just excited to see Harris out there to begin with. I'm disappointed that we're not going to see as much Oliveira, because I do think that like Zoner said, his time will come. And we will get there. But, otherwise, yeah, that's what else can we say about it? So the Bombers will look to make it 3 wins and 1 loss. I believe that will be their record if they win today. Correct? Am I wrong?
Hey, it's hard to win on the road, right? It's hard to win on the road. They lost that game to Toronto in Toronto. I don't care what sport you play. When you go into another team's arena, stadium, field, whatever it may be, you're going into a hostile environment.
100%. And this will also be, I think that what is their home record streak at right now? Because I think they've won like 18 out of 19 games at home since 2019 or something like that. Like it's their home record is ridiculous. So Calgary is coming to town. They're going to have their work cut out for them as they head into IG Field tonight. You can see the game on TSN.
They flew in last night. My inside sources, they had a practice on Friday, and they flew in. They left Calgary Saturday, and then they came in last night.
So 4 hours till game time for that. Again, you can watch on TSN, or for the French, there is the RDS. I speak French. I don't know why I did that weird accent. But so RDS will have the French feed of the game. So if you're interested in catching that, that'll be where that is. And then they don't play again until next Sunday, but that game is going to be in Ryderville. Boo. That's going to be all in Saskatchewan.
Banjo Bowl. That's the best thing about the whole league, really.
The Banjo Bowl will be. I don't. Do they call the game in Saskatoon isn't, or in Saskatchewan isn't the Banjo Bowl? That'll be the week after, September 11th.
Are you sure?
Did wait until we got a new arena, and then they got a new arena. That is nothing but the most. That is so copycat. So copycat.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about.
Yeah, I hate when teams upgrade their facilities. It's rude.
Well, it's like, why did they wait until we did it? Because this is a state of the art facility over here.
Because the league league is pretty much in sync at this point. So a lot of the stadiums were built around the same time. Stands to reason they need to be replaced around the same time. I mean, that's how time works.
Well, they basically practiced on IG Field. Now they're going to perfect it over there. That's all. It won't leak as much.
Yeah, but so the game today, the game today is a big one, and we're looking forward to seeing another home win at IG Field.
I'm gonna wear my Stamps jacket in Winnipeg today. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh,
That's
what an
I'm
instigator
gonna do.
this guy is.
I'm gonna take off this shirt. I'm gonna take off this tie. I'm gonna put my shorts on, and I'm gonna put on my Stamps jacket before I go to my mom's place right now. Everyone's gonna just like, oh, I'm just gonna hurt this guy.
You're a ridiculous human being. Anyway,
Hey,
you're right. You're right. You do belong on TikTok.
I do.
Honestly.
And I'm gonna raise those shoes tonight. Keith McKnight 6. The reason why I go with number 6 is because when my dad and I used to watch the horse races at Assiniboine Downs, I don't know what it was, I would always cheer for number 6. So ever since I was 5 or 6 years old, I just stuck with number 6. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and we know you're a conspiracy theorist. You like to stick to your this is what works, superstitions, blah blah blah. Certain colors.
Conspiracies might as well be spelled with a K. They're involved with me.
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
they should be. Zone, thank you so much for being here. You have no idea. We haven't seen you in two, and I'm not trying to say to make you feel bad. It's just so good to have you be here. Thank you so much for making the time for us.
I'm glad to be here. It would have been tough the last couple of weeks. I was on vacation, but now I'm happy to be back.
Well, we appreciate you greatly, so thank you for being here. Thank you, Keith, for joining us as well. We are going to be back in a couple of minutes with some different guests. We've got Valour FC talk coming up. We're going to do that starting at 2:00. So, for now, Neutral Zoner from Reddit, Keith McKnight from Winnipeg, and myself, also living in Winnipeg at the moment. We're going to throw it to an ad, and we'll be back after those ads with our new guests. So give us a couple of minutes here, folks.
Get that hot tub on your deck for the winter. Get that hot tub on your deck for the winter. I'm not going to say it a third time.
Okay. Bye, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Zoner.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aquatech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aquatech job, it's an Aquatech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dougal Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
Welcome back. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. Again, I am Mark Adam. I'm going to welcome back a couple of guests. Well, I guess I'm going to welcome back a guest and then welcome a new guest who's never been on the show before. So, first of all, our trusty friend, Adam Johnston, founding member of Red River Rising. We're glad to have you here, sir. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure on a Sunday afternoon.
I mean, yeah. What better time to talk? Well, that's not the right button. There's your face. It's not the right time to talk soccer, is it? Sunday afternoons? Is it like
right before?
No soccer.
Yeah, right before. Yeah, you can't beat it. So
right on. And then we have joining us for the first time ever, Joseph Bernacki, a Winnipeg print journalist who most recently was doing some work for the Winnipeg Free Press, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to go too far into that. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having us, Mark and Adam. It's a pleasure to meet you both. Well, Mark, we've met, but yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes. So for those that don't know, Joseph Bernacki, he was sitting very close to me in the press box during the bubble for the CPL, and in his capacity at the time was covering all of those CPL games, which was, I'm assuming, a lot of fun. How was that experience for you?
Oh, Mark, the experience was tremendous. When I was at the Winnipeg Free Press in the month of July and June as well, I was the beat reporter for the Canadian Premier League. So I got to spend a lot of time covering not only Valour FC, but most of the league as well, writing stories on each of the teams, doing some in-depth player interviews, working with a lot of the different coaches. And the CPL is an awesome league to cover. It's really great soccer. It was a thrill watching a lot of games in July play out. And of course, being from Winnipeg, it was great seeing Valour FC start off strong. And now it's kind of a tale of two seasons right now, it seems like, but a great experience nonetheless.
Yeah, I would agree. Tale of two seasons might be a great way to say it. Mr. Johnston, what are your thoughts on the potential start of a third season? I don't know. They actually won a couple of games now. How are we feeling about that?
I'm feeling quite good, actually. They won their Canadian Championship game last week against Atletico Ottawa, so I was quite pleased. They played very well, probably their best game outside of the bubble, and then they came home to play FC Edmonton, won 3-0 on Tuesday night at home, and that was another pretty impressive win. So I think we're going the right direction. Now we're on the road today against Pacific. So see what's future in store for today.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that the Ottawa game ended, the Canadian Championship game, where they allowed that goal late, and then it was just chaos for the last 2 minutes, trying not to get scored on and escape with a win. I didn't like how that ended, but the result was there, and that was what they used as a springboard to jump off and sort of take over that second game against Edmonton, in which I thought they absolutely dominated every aspect of that game. Thoughts on the change of pace here, Mr. Bernacki?
I think with the Edmonton game, it was sort of a revenge game from two disappointing results on the road. I mean, when they left the bubble, they lost their final game to Halifax. I remember you and I talking about it, Mark, and there was a lot to improve when you're not getting a lot of shots on net. And then they go on the road. They have a tough showing against Edmonton. You know, head coach Rob Gale said they let in too many soft goals, and they lost, I think, that first one 3-1. I can't remember now. Then they go up against Pacific and Cavalry. Now there are two more tough losses to swallow for the team, and then they notch out a draw against Edmonton, but felt like they deserved the win there. So now coming home in front of our home fans and Red River Rising, the Trench, you know, it was great to see a better performance. And now I guess Jonathan Sirois is he back? Is he here to stay? I know.
Well, currently he is back. He was recalled to duty for CF Montreal. He was gone for about a week, but he did make his return. He played in the game against Edmonton, and he played phenomenally in the game. He wasn't really tested, but I mean, he's still Jonathan Sirois. I think the faith is still there in him, regardless of the fact that he really only had one troubling moment in the game, but he dealt with it, and off you go with a 3-0 victory. So, I like that he's back. I like that Sirois has, control of it. But, and I'll throw this question to Adam Johnston first. I was impressed with how Matt Silva stepped up when he needed to step up. He managed, it was only the one game it turned out to be, but it was just the one game, right? He played in the Canadian Championship match.
I believe so. Yeah, against Atletico Ottawa. Yeah, that's correct.
But what did you think of Matt Silva? I mean, should we lose Sirois for the season? Do you think that Silva could carry us?
I think that's a very good question. I think it's possible. I mean, he did show a lot of promise against Atletico Ottawa in the Canadian Championship game, and he did what he had to do, right? Get to make those stops, and he did his job to ensure Valour got a victory out of that game, getting the result. And I think that's the bottom line at any day. It's not about if you get a shutout or if you're playing pretty in goal. It's about getting the result at the end of the day, right? So I'm convinced that Matt Silva can provide at least those results that are necessary to get us through to the end of the season, hopefully the playoffs. So
yeah, I would agree with you, and I'll throw the same question to Joseph now. Do you think Matt Silva has the skill set required to carry a team that has been struggling and may or may not be on the way up? Is that pressure you think he can handle?
That's a really interesting, and it's a tough question, Mark. I didn't get a chance to see Silva perform in net during the Premier League bubble to start the season. I saw him at training camp a little bit, obviously with Sirois, attending one of their practices, and he looked good in the limited role we got to see him. He does have experience with the club. Kind of had his starting role taken away from him, so if anything, there's probably some motivation to get that job back. If Rob Gale puts the trust in him to start in net, and if they sort of mix it up like as you would in hockey with the backup goaltender, maybe we'll get a chance to see him play a little bit more. It's hard to say right now if he's good enough to be the lead goalkeeper, but he kind of might be thrown into that role if Montreal calls Jonathan back.
And that's something as well. Rob Gale himself has said that he has nothing but faith in Silva, and he's not usually a guy to mince words, but he is often very supportive of his players. So I don't think he would ever be like, I don't think he's quite the guy we want to be doing this job, because one, why would you have signed him in the first place? But two, he doesn't want to shake their confidence in themselves, which has been an issue, I think, during that slump. I think confidence in their own play was a big factor, and the lack thereof. And as they they went back to the drawing board and looked at how they used to play, and they started to figure it out, that Canadian Championship, finally getting the win after having played a couple of good games in which they did not get the result. It's nice to see them bounce back, and that Canadian Championship thing, that's a big deal. That's the first Canadian Championship win ever. Now we get to play Forge of the CPL teams that have advanced in the Canadian Championship. Only we in Forge will not have played a CPL or an MLS team after the next game. So it's kind of cool. It's because what was TFC now? I forget how that works. Is it York that has to play TFC?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And then
that sounds right.
And then Halifax plays CF Montreal, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah. So those are two tough tests, right? And then we saw Pacific beat the Whitecaps.
The Vancouver Whitecaps, yeah.
That's a thing. That's awesome. So I'm actually kind of excited to see how all that plays out. Do you guys have any predictions as to who will win the Canadian Championship before we get into more CPL specific stuff? We'll start with Adam.
I really can't say who's going to win the championship. I think it'll be a surprise though, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a CPL team in the final, probably against Toronto FC. So I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, for myself, I'm probably in the same boat as Adam. It's a little hard to predict right now. I think Pacific beating the Vancouver Whitecaps is a statement win, and it's showing that Canadian Premier League clubs have the talent to beat teams in the MLS. I think they're probably a team, we can talk about their matchup later, obviously, on the show, but they're a team to look out for. They got a lot of offensive attack, firepower. If Valour keeps playing some good matches, if they have a guy like Jonathan Sirois in net, they could probably go far as well. I think for a lot of these teams, especially Forge, I know you mentioned the CPL defending champs, a lot of these teams have so many games based on the pandemic this year in such a tight schedule, playing every 3-4 days. In the case of Forge, they had 2 games in El Salvador for CONCACAF. Then you got to play Canadian Championship, regular season games. It's hard. And if you feel like as a collective you've thrown more effort into Canadian Championship game, how are you going to respond in your next regular season game if you're tired, the players don't have as much energy?
That was something that Rob Gale also mentioned, because when I asked him about that in the last game's presser, like, how do you feel now you finally broke that losing streak in the CPL? He's like, no. We won 2 games in a row, right? 2 games in a row, because they don't look at it as Canadian Championship, CPL League. They're just like, we got a game, we got a game, we got a game, we got a game, we got a game. We get ready for the next game. It doesn't matter what that is. Doesn't matter what the competition level is. We're getting ready for that game. So, for them, that game against Ottawa was just another game. And so they look at it as, they don't need to bounce back in their league. They just won a game. So I just thought that was an interesting take from Rob Gale, that he doesn't separate the competitions that way, which I do in my brain, and most people, especially in the media, right? You're like, okay, you left the league, you played an extracurricular game, and you won. What does that mean for your league play? Where Rob Gale goes, what's the difference? It doesn't matter. Right? A game is a game is a game. We play the games that we're scheduled to play. We play them against the team we're scheduled to play against, and it doesn't really matter otherwise. So I like that approach. I think it creates a lot more, because the schedule is so, like you said, it's so like every 3 days you got a game. If not every 2 days, you got a game. So it's tough when there's travel involved, and you're bouncing around. You got 2 days off, and one of those you have to spend traveling. So you got 1 practice in before your next game, and it's tough. So I like that continuity that he's creating, where it isn't CPL and then Canadian Championship and then CONCACAF and this and that and the other thing. It's all one season. It's one campaign, period. And I like that he puts it that way. Is that weird of me to like that, or should I be separating that? Legit question. I don't know.
I think you're getting a chance to work with Rob a lot over the last couple of months. He's very upfront with what he thinks about his team, what they need to improve on, and he doesn't really hold anything back. He gave a lot of colorful quotes to us during the press conferences, which we as writers always appreciate.
He's great for sound bites for sure.
Yeah, but I knew of him before working for the Free Press, but now getting a chance to over the last couple of months, I have a lot more respect for the Valour FC organization, and I think they got a great guy leading the ship, and it's a tough test right now. I hope over these next few games they can prove that they can keep scoring some goals. I mean, William Accio got 2 the other night. It was great to see him get going again, because I did a couple interviews with him over the summer, and I said, I know, Mark, you had talked about it too. He's one of the fastest players in the league, probably on the team.
I've mentioned that a couple of times in articles posted on the WPG.ca, which, by the way, side note, go to the WPG.ca. There's coverage for the Valour there and other stuff, other cool content. So go there now. Continue.
So we've both talked to him about, can you take your agility and your speed to keep scoring some goals and generate some chances? And finally against Edmonton, he was able to do that. So hopefully Rob keeps him in front of the lineup on the attack, and he can generate some more chances against Pacific today.
And Adam, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think Akio had a really great game on Tuesday evening. There was probably best game of the year, and I think it's his probably breakout game of the year, to be honest. And hopefully, I want to see more of what he can do today. He's got the speed, and the issue that was the finishing. But I think last Tuesday was his probably breakout game. So like I said, I'm hoping to see what he can do today, and hopefully he can score at least another goal or two today.
Yeah, and William Akio is one of those guys, like, throughout the season, you have moments where you're just like, ooh, this player has arrived. They've been here the whole time, but all of a sudden it's just like, they look comfortable now. And William Akio is one of those guys who, even though he wasn't scoring over the last couple of games, he's looked a lot more comfortable. And I think that sort of helped him to score those 2 goals. And what I really liked about that game in Edmonton, they actually used him and his speed. They were playing balls behind defenders and letting him chase it down, which happened a bunch of times. It caused chaos for Edmonton's defenders and their goalie. What I didn't like in previous games is they'd get behind the defenders and do all this work, and then they turn around and look for support and try and play a ball backwards, but against defenders that you've already beaten. Why are you turning around and sort of negating that forward progress? Yeah, you're at a weird angle. Have a go. See what pops out. It's a weird angle. If it's weird for you, it's definitely weird for the goalie. It's awkward. And if it doesn't go in, if you hit it with a little bit of pace, or you got all these guys in the box, chaos can happen. And that's what we saw against Edmonton, was them actually applying that strategy. I really enjoyed that. So do we... Austin Ricci, do we think, because he scored 2 in the championship match against Ottawa, what do we think of his play lately? Because he's been quiet, but his confidence has not waned. Because I asked him after that game, you scored a couple of goals. What does that do for your confidence? And he basically was saying, there's nothing wrong with my confidence. I know who I am. And, when you're scoring, people love you. When you're not, they're going to throw, what do you say? They're going to, I forget it was throw shade, but he said it differently, But anyway, it doesn't matter. So he basically said haters going to hate. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But so it was just kind of nice to see that he has that confidence regardless of what has happened. Do we think he's the guy? Joseph?
That's another tough question. It's a good one, Mark, to address, because at the start of the bubble, he quickly, there was no scoring title to capture, but he was leading the league in goals, and then that performance kind of waned. At least it seemed a little bit when they went on the road. I talked to him before they went on their first road trip, and you could see in those first couple games against Edmonton, Cavalry as well, when the team wasn't getting any shots on net, but Ricci was playing a solid amount of minutes, the question became, okay, are the guys up front with him not the right match right now? Does he need to be paired up with someone else? Because there was a lot of times where it looked like he was trying to do it himself. And one player against 4 or 5 defenders, fullback, midfielder, throw in, it's pretty hard to do. Soccer's not like hockey in that, sure, you could have a breakaway, but it's a little different in that regard. And he did score a couple against Ottawa in the Canadian Championship game. And if he could get one today, I think that would really help his confidence.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's throw the same question to you, Adam. So do you think Austin Ricci is our guy? Because I really like the way he plays, and I think it's unfair to say, he hasn't been getting the job done, when I don't think I've said so in my articles, if you go back and read them, I really think that Akio or Ulloa need to be on the field at the same time, because that creates more space for Austin Ricci. And he doesn't need a lot of space, but he needs some, So do we think Austin Ricci's our guy? Because I think he absolutely could be.
Yeah, I think he's shown a lot of potential to be the man on the team for scoring. Like you mentioned, the bubble, he was like tops there. And then he got a little bit of a funk there after being on the road. But the Canadian Championship game, I think, was a reawakening game for him. For that he scored those goals, and hopefully like today, I think if he can score today, at least the goal, I think that'll definitely boost his confidence and getting up there at the upper echelon, the other top scorers in the CPL. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays today and how much space he's given in the game against Pacific. We know that Pacific right now, they're tops in the league. They've got everything going for them. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see how Ricci plays today.
Yeah, I agree. But I like that there's some green when you go to the website and you look at the last 6, and for a long time it was just reds, all the L's, a couple of gray
on Google.
Yeah. Well, if that too, but if you go to the actual like canpl.ca, like their actual Canadian Premier League website, it shows you the form in their last 6, and I like seeing the green there for Valour FC. I know there's only one of them because again, the Canadian Championship match doesn't fall into this, but in the head of Rob Gale, there's 2 greens back to back right there. So
exactly,
their form is getting better. And how crazy is it that they went on a 6-game winless streak in the CPL, and they're still 3 points back and or 1 win behind Forge and Pacific FC, who are both at 25 points. Valour slid into 4th place at 22 points, but literally 1 win behind these teams. What do we think about that? How crazy is that, Adam?
Yeah, that's a crazy stat, to be honest. That even though we're 4th, we're still like near the top spot there, and I think a lot of it has to do that we got off to the really, really great start in the bubble, and then unfortunately we tailed off a little bit. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I think it's going to make for quite the ending this year, to be honest, like who gets top spot and who makes the playoffs. And like, let's not forget, like even 5th, like York's still kind of in the mix, so we can't forget about that as well. So
agreed. Thoughts on that, Joseph?
Yeah, in terms of the parity in this league, it's interesting to see. I'm not sure what was happening with the league in terms of there were talks about the East and West division, with Valour being with Pacific, Calgary, and Edmonton. And I know Rob was addressing it too, saying there's no easy games and getting a chance to see the rest of the division now, which they have. If you look out East, Halifax is a team that's been decimated with injury this year. They've been struggling a little bit. Atletico Ottawa, FC Edmonton, both head coaches have said they're still trying to find their identity of the team. And York has been fairly competitive, albeit they have a 500 record, I guess, 4-5-5. It's going to be interesting. I mean, there's still a ton of soccer to be played. We got 2 more full months of soccer. I think Valour's final game is first week of November. I think I was looking at the schedule.
Yeah.
So
it goes pretty deep.
I mean,
they wanted to force that whole 28 game full season, right? So
yeah. I mean, Rob had been saying a lot in a lot of press conferences we attended over the summer. He was comparing last year's Island Games results in PEI to this year, and last year he thought we've got the right collective unit, but injuries took away our chances. Aside from missing Andrew Jean-Baptiste right now, the club is staying pretty healthy.
Well, counterpoint, Jose Galan, Kevin Aliman was back, played a little bit there last game, but he was hurt for the previous game, and O'Heen was suspended, so that's a little different. But yeah, like Jose Galan not playing at all yet this year is huge. I'm waiting for him to be dropped into a lineup at some point. And because for months now, it's been day-to-day kind of thing with him. We don't know what the deal is. And the only thing we're sure of is Andrew Jean-Baptiste is not coming back this season. That's the only thing we know, right? Everything else is a wild card. But there have been some injuries, as a counterpoint. But But it hasn't been as bad. Like Bukamutu is back and he got to play after the bubble, and so that's kind of good. But I mean, there have been some injury issues in Valour, just to counterpoint.
But just not to the same extent it seems like that they felt last year.
Right, or other teams this year.
So,
Halifax is a good example of that.
Yeah. So if they can stay healthy, by and large, good core of their group over the next, 2 months, it'll go a long way into seeing how these final standings play out. And it's kind of hard to imagine right now they're going to be playing soccer in November in Canada, but outdoors. But I guess we'll see how they make it work.
Yeah, that doesn't sound enviable, but it is what it is. It's going to be chilly in September. It's going to be quite chilly in October. And by the time November rolls around, especially in Winnipeg, it's going to be cold. It's just straight up cold, like Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers cold, So here we go. But it's fun to note that there's 3 teams in the league who in their last 6 have more than 2 wins. And they're the 3 teams that are above us. Because Cavalry, Pacific, and Forge all have at least 3 wins in their last 6, which shows a lot better form than what we've seen. However, we have seen teams take turns on a dime. Have a look at Valour FC going, the wrong way at first after the bubble. But their form in the last 2 games, they look good. They look good. So if you have to predict the final score from tonight's match, Pacific hosting Valour, it's an away game for Valour at Starlight Stadium. I'm going to make you guys pick a winner and a score. So we'll start with Adam. Let's go to you.
Put me on a spot, didn't you?
Yep.
You know what? Based on form, I'm gonna go with Valour. I think they'll win 2-1 today.
2-1. That's okay. So boost.
Austin Ricci gets the
You
winner.
think? Oh, that's
About the 85th minute.
there. Let's be more specific. Okay. All right. And Joseph.
I like Adam's point. I think you could definitely see Richie with a good chance of getting on the board today. I'm going to make a safer conservative call. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And then if I have to pick, I'm going to go with Valour. I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-0 win. And I think that Akio scores another one.
Ooh.
I like that. Yeah.
That's bold.
I'd like to see him do it. I don't know what the lineup looks like yet. That information will not be available until when will that be available?
An hour before the game.
4:30.
4:30.
4:30
Winnipeg time. So we got about 2 hours before we figure out who's playing, and just keep your eyes on their own. Like Valour has a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and Facebook and all that. So I'm pretty sure they'll put the lineup out there for all to see. And I'm excited. Who would you place? Obviously we want to, everybody's going to pick Sirois in net, right? They've had five days off, which is kind of nice. Do we think the off period is going to help at all? Is that a thing that we think will play a significant role in today's game, having 5 days off?
I think it could. It's so hard to predict because I see there's a lot of parity between some of the teams at the top right now, and Pacific is riding the momentum of beating the Vancouver Whitecaps, so that's got to feel really good. But the rest is key. It's not every third day now. I guess it's the 5th day. So
can we talk about? Okay, so we've mentioned it a couple of times. Pacific beating the Vancouver Whitecaps. Did you guys see what happened the very next day? Mark Dos Santos, the head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, was canned. Like they haven't been a great team for a couple of years, but But you know, how crazy is that? That like it's you lost to a CPL team, get out. Like that's the head coach is gone. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. I actually kind of wasn't surprised, but I kind of was, considering that Vancouver was actually getting in the right direction in their league this year, and they were getting close to a playoff spot. So I was thinking, if Vancouver didn't make the playoffs this year in MLS, then I could see them letting go of Mark DeSantos. But I guess after losing the Pacific and the Canadian Championship was like big idea. It's like, yeah, we gotta get. So
my dad's a big fan of the CPL, and he's a Halifax fan. He lives in Halifax, where I hail from where I hail. Anyway, whatever. It's not a grammar show, but the point is, my dad even said that, like, I think he was forewarned that Mark DeSantos was probably given that whole. We've been struggling. If you go so far as to lose to a CPL team, then I think maybe we're going to have to look at your position here. Like, he was probably well aware that a loss in that game was going to lead to him finally being fired. But that's crazy. It's crazy. So, Joseph, thoughts on that?
I last weekend, I think it was, I was watching the Whitecaps play against LAFC, and I don't get a chance to watch a lot of MLS, but it was noticeable how I was paying more attention to the Vancouver Whitecaps fans, because I think they had set a record attendance to be back at home. But their team is certainly struggling this year. I wish I had more time to follow the MLS, but. Yeah, I mean, the coach has gone after losing to, you say, a minor league soccer club. That's sending a message to the organization that, look, we need to improve.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was apropos, and there's a lot of CPL fans. If you check Reddit or Facebook or whatnot, there's a lot of people saying like Pacific FC got the Whitecaps coach fired. Like that's the takeaway that a lot of people have. And I think that while not great for the MLS as far as publicity is concerned, but I think that's a great statement as to how far in just basically 2 years, right? Because last year, does it even count? Right? That Island Games tournament, not a full season, blah, blah, blah. Right? But that's how far the Canadian Premier League has come, right? To be able to compete against and win games against MLS clubs, even if it was a 4-3 battle, absolutely, but still, the CPL clubs are capable. We have a lot of skill in this league, as much as people want to overlook us, right?
Yeah. It's great publicity for the CPL in a statement win like that. I mean, yeah, you could say it's a shootout winning 4-3, but having a chance to interview a lot of different players across the league this year, all of them have the same message. Look, I joined the Canadian Premier League so I didn't have to try and get into the Whitecaps camp or Toronto FC's camp or Montreal's camp. There were more doors, more pathways to soccer that opened up, and a lot of these guys were confident in themselves that, okay, this level of play in our league is good enough for any product of soccer in Canada. Marco Bustos was a good example. That at least a name I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, we have skill here. Look at some of the best players in the league are actually Canadian players, right?
For sure.
So I'm pretty excited that that's a thing. I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish in Canada as Canadians, embracing what is for a lot of Native Canadians, like a lot of. I mean, it's a new sport, really, right? Canada has always been hockey, and soccer has definitely been a backseat. But with the way that Canada is and the integration of people from all over the world, and I mean, we live in Manitoba where there's a huge foreign population that, like immigrant population that loves soccer, and that's amazing because I love soccer. And people I grew up with who their families have been in Canada forever, they care about hockey. But all this, the new blood, the infusion of passion and culture from other places, it's really helped Canada grow this sport in this country. And I'm happy. 3 MLS teams, right? We only have 1 NBA team. Right? Vancouver Grizzlies folded up how long ago? Right? We have 1 NBA team. We have 1 Major League Baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't embrace other sports quite as much as a nation outside of hockey. So the fact that we have 3 MLS teams speaks to soccer being such a growing sport in our country. The fact that we have a professional soccer league here speaks to that. The fact that our professional sports league can compete against teams in the US's version of our professional sports league, that speaks to the growth and the quality that we're seeing. So I think the future is bright for soccer in Canada, and in particular the CPL. Am I off base, or am I just talking out my butt? Gentlemen?
I don't think you're off base, Mark. No, I think a couple of years ago when we learned that we were going to be getting this Canadian Premier League, I thought this was going to do wonders for our country. Putting other cities on the map, we've got the 8 teams now. It's been all but confirmed. Basically, we're going to have another team joining in Saskatchewan, which I think is going to be great. Saskatoon's looking to make another home for a Canadian Premier League club. I think basically where the Assiniboia Downs version of horse racing in Saskatoon. Sorry, my English wasn't very good there. The horse racing track in Saskatoon, they're converting it into a soccer stadium for another team.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we might get another, won't be the same kind of rivalry as the Bombers and Riders, but we can get another soccer rivalry between our 2 provinces. I think that's awesome.
Well, anytime Manitobans have a chance to spit on the idea of something from Saskatchewan, they're going to take it. So I think that'll be an instant rivalry, to be honest. So I like where your head's at. Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, if you have some thoughts, go ahead then.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say I agree with Mark. You're definitely not off base with the comments you've provided here. I think soccer has been a growing sport in Canada for quite a while. And, the announcement a few years ago, the CPL heightened it. And we've seen the past approximately 2 years how well it's the quality of product has improved immensely from this year compared to the Island Games, compared to year 1. And it's put cities on the map, and there's expansion happening. We know that Saskatoon's probably going to come in the league within the next year or 2, and quite possibly there's the idea of 2 teams in Quebec, one in Laval and Quebec City within the next few years as well. So, it's a growing sport, and that's also, like I said, a lot of it is just the influx of immigration has helped propel soccer in this country. It's always a good thing when you have that happen, and always a good thing that maybe perhaps we're not just a hockey nation, as much as many people love. It's always good to have that variety. So
yeah, I feel you there. We are more than a hockey nation. We are, and the soccer in this country, the way that it's growing, and our men's national team qualifying for the Octagon. To qualify for the for the World Cup, that's crazy. First time since the 80s. You know what I mean? Soccer. Oh, we might have lost Joseph there. Not a big deal, but yeah. Since the 80s, it's been since the 80s.
1985, I think. Yeah, I was 5 years old.
85 or 86 or something like that. The point is.
Yeah, I was 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. And the women's team is dominating the world in soccer, which I think is helping immensely with spreading the popularity of the sport in the country. So I just think there's nothing but up right now for soccer in this country, and the CPL is no different. There's nothing but up. It's only I mean, this is technically the second real actual season, because I as much as it was fun to watch that tournament on TV, it didn't provide a real sense of an actual season. But at least we had something, So 2.5 seasons, let's call it, and the growth we're seeing is huge. So I'm pretty excited. And we got Joseph back. He dropped out there, but he's back.
Yeah, sorry, I had to plug in my laptop before that battery died.
Oh, fair enough. So there was a minor panic. I get it. We've all played that game. As a matter of fact, I was rolling the, and I'm going to call him out on it right now, on air, I guess. But Keith McKnight was prepping for the show, and we're rolling the intro, which is 30 seconds long or whatever it is. And he's like, "Wait, I got to plug in my laptop," and he like runs while all the credits are while the intro's rolling. I thought that was awesome. Whoa. So you're not alone, sir. You're not alone.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. Very glad. Was there anything that you saw that really felt different about that Edmonton game versus the games that we have lost to Edmonton since the bubble ended? Was there anything really different about that? Ooh. Sorry, everybody, if that made a bump in the mic. I don't know. But was there anything that really struck you as different, that was a positive or negative, that Valour did this time around? Let's start with Adam, and then we'll go to Joseph.
I actually thought watching the game on Tuesday night at IGF, I just thought there was a sense of more of a collective. I thought there was a sense of urgency in the team there. And just I don't know, it just seemed like they were just on the ball in that game, and just being in the stands and having them perform so well only helped us be much more louder during the game. So it was, I don't know, just good effort overall, and I think that just helped out. It just seemed like players had some more of a sense of urgency in his team in that game, so I was quite pleased with the result.
And Joseph?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mark. IG Field's been pretty kind to Valour this year. They've played pretty well at home. I think to Adam's point, a coach may not say that there's urgency, but there has to be some. The road trip results did not go as well as they had hoped for. That first game against Edmonton, sure, Edmonton was fired up to play in front of their home fans at Clark Stadium, but Rob was pretty adamant. Look, we gave up way too many silly goals. I think if you would have asked him, it sounds like from when I talked to him, out of those 4 games on the road trip, that first one was collectively their worst effort. So they took it to them at home. Great to have some fans back again at IG Field. It'd be nice if we could get some more.
Yeah.
But because it's great soccer, and and they got some shots on net.
That's the biggest
they got
difference.
Some pressure.
Yes, thank you, because that was my point.
Yeah.
That if nobody said it, that was actually shooting the ball, taking chances, and not just Raph O'Heen from 30 yards out. Right? Like other players are shooting the ball. Sean Rea can shoot the ball. He scored. He had a couple of chances.
He did score,
Austin Ricci in that game, he didn't manage to score. He scored 2 in the Canadian Championship match, but he didn't score any goals against Edmonton in the last match. Yeah. But he had some opportunities. He had some shots on goal. William Akio taking shots at goal. Manages to one touch, 2 balls into the back of the net on great feeds. Those balls getting in behind the defenders is a big deal. Sean Rea pushing the ball beyond the defenders, not to somebody so that they can stand in front of a defender. Push it past the defender. William Akio, Yared Uloa, those 2 guys can outrun anybody on the field. There are no defenders in this league faster than those 2 guys. There just aren't. So I really enjoyed watching that side of the game. Right, so that was it for me. That was the big thing was actually the forward pressure. When they got the ball, the passing was faster paced. It had more purpose to their movement. It wasn't just possession so that the other team doesn't have the ball, which is kind of what it felt like in the previous games where they dominated in possession. but couldn't manage to score, it was because they weren't really pushing. They were using possession as a means of possession alone. Possession for possession's sake doesn't help.
I quoted in probably three of the articles I wrote for the Free Press over the summer, Mark, Rob Gale's, one of his top quotes that always stuck with me, to your point, it's possession with a purpose. Pretty simple message.
I wholeheartedly agree that has been the difference. The last two matches that we won, possession with a purpose, possession with a goal at the end. Like we have a goal that we need to meet. How do we meet the goal? Well, we move the ball, as opposed to now we have the ball. Now what? Well, keep it away from them, right? There's possession, and there's possession with a purpose. And yeah, so that's exactly what I liked seeing. I keep bumping this thing. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm getting hand talky, but I just get excited. Like this is an exciting league to watch, and we now in Winnipeg this year, we have an exciting team to watch. We have exciting players to watch. We have an exciting coach that's doing stuff different, and his outlook on the game is different, and the way he approaches everything is different, and that's why I like having him here. Do you think, and this is a question we talked about 2 weeks ago when I had AFC Curtis on the show, do you think that if the losing streak continued, that this is the year, if they don't make the playoffs this year, let's just put it that way, if they don't make the playoffs this year, if they fall out of fourth place overall before the season's over, do you think Rob Gale's job is in jeopardy, and do you think it should be? Go ahead, Joseph.
I started thinking about that a little bit when it became apparent that they weren't getting a lot of shots on net in some of those games. I mean, Halifax, Jonathan Sirois sets a CPL record in the final game in the bubble, I think with 14 saves, I think it was. And they can't get any shots on net to at least try, force a draw. If you get a draw, you're picking up some points on the table. And then they go on the road. They lose 3 in a row, away from home. I think it'll certainly be interesting, the types of losses that they have going forward over these next 2 months. If they go in again in a bit of a funk where they're losing and they're just sure they have some possession, but they're not generating any chances. Rob could be on the hot seat, but management might give him a pass in that this is really only the second full season that we've got. Last year's 10 games in Prince Edward Island were tournament style, and the pandemic has changed a lot. I think he would keep him around if Valour finished 4th for one more year, and then maybe it would be the kind of thing we go into 2022. If they start off slow, if they struggle, maybe then it's time to find someone else at the helm.
Okay, and Adam?
Yeah, Joseph, I kind of have to agree with those words there. It's all going to depend on the last little bit here and just how they play and what type of losses they get and just how they possess the ball. Like if they possess the ball like they did in the bubble and like use that productively and score, then I can see them making the playoffs and actually finishing off strong, and then Gale should be okay. But they're having the same type of possession like they did in year one, where they've got a lot of possession but not using a lot of it, and that could be quite concerning. And like I said, I think you keep them, for another year, like regardless, and see what happens. In next year, if they're in trouble at the beginning of next year, then possibly you may have to look at alternatives. But I think, like you said, this is only year 2, full year 2. So we'll see what happens and just how the rest of the year ends. But
yeah, well, I disagree. I think the key to a good coach is that your team improves every year, and I think that he has done that. I think that he's improved, and it's a hard league to do that, and we've talked about it before. You have to play certain players under the age of 23 for X amount of minutes, and a certain number of players have to be Canadian, and like the restrictions are quite tough to deal with, to build a team. So
there's a lot to manage.
Yeah, there's a ton to manage. So I really think that if he were not to make the playoffs this year, but it was like really close, I don't think you can fire him. I just don't. I think you give him, the guy came in, he had a 5-year plan, let him play out the 5-year plan. I think people are too knee-jerk reactionary. Let's pretend that made sense.
Knee-jerk reaction.
You get it. Like, it's people jump to conclusions and jump to, especially in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's a very like live in the moment, passionate kind of city where, you know, it's when the Jets are winning, it's great. But as soon as they lose 2 games in a row, do we fire Cheveldayoff? Do we get rid of Paul Maurice?
That's me a few months.
Like trade Scheifele. Oh, sorry, that only Keith McKnight says that. But the point is like, I mean, come on, like, we have a little faith is all I'm saying. I think we keep the guy for the full 5-year tenure that we planned and see where it is at the end of that. Renegotiate at the end of that, right? Yeah, that's a personal opinion, but I really think that's the way to go. He's shown improvement every year. The players love playing for him. It's not like he's lost. Right. He hasn't lost them in the dressing room by any stretch of the imagination, right? He's great with the media. He has a good attitude. Yeah. When they lose, he's upset, but it isn't it isn't like throwing things upset. He takes those losses. He looks at what they can take that's positive. They work on the things that were negative, and then they come out stronger in the next match. And even when they were losing, they were getting better every game. So I really don't think that his job should be on the block. But do I think it will be? Who knows, right? Winnipeg Football Club running the show. So, Mike O'Shea. He's really helped the Bombers and But the question, as soon as they lose 3 games, people are, should we fire Mike O'Shea? Right? So it's tough.
It's an interesting point, Mark. I mean, if we look and we make some comparatives to the other professional sports teams we have here in Winnipeg, Mike O'Shea, okay, the Bombers have him on for a few years. They stick with him. The Bombers have a couple of disappointing playoff losses, but they stick with him, and he gets them to the Grey Cup, and they win. So they stood patient with O'Shea. They kept him on. I think his job is secure right now, as far as I know. Yeah. We'll see how this season goes. With the Jets, it's pretty interesting because now Maurice has built up a history here in Winnipeg. And he's a hell of a lot better than the days of the Claude Noel era Jets when they first started out here. They came back from Atlanta,
Mind you, that's not exactly apples to apples. When you're talking about a team that's just moved and there's a lot of changes, and like it's not the same. It's like comparing them to almost like to an expansion team, Like you just gotta let them find their footing first. But I do agree, Paul Maurice has been integral in that. But the question is, he's been there for so long. Do you just shake things up for the sake of shaking things up? Has he lost the ear of the room? And I really don't think he has.
Well, but I'm not trying to turn this discussion back into hockey, but what stood out to me is that, I mean, look at before the Jets made it to the playoffs, the Jets were in a free fall in the regular season in the North Division.
That 7-game losing streak?
Yeah. They fall out of there competing with the Maple Leafs for first, then they drop down. Then they end up playing Edmonton, and they win an incredible series.
4 straight.
That's probably saved Maurice's job for now. But every season there's been, when the Jets played Nashville, when they played Vegas, losing to St. Louis, and then Calgary in the last couple seasons prior, there's always been some talk, okay, are we going to keep Maurice? Is now the time to can him? We'll see what happens this year. But then back to your point on Rob Gale, I wasn't aware that he kind of had like a 5-year plan for the club. Should they keep him on for those 5 years? And I think you're right. I think you got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. It's a new league. This is the second full year we've gotten of this product. Right. Let's see. I mean, right now, Valour currently sits with 7 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses.
They're
They've
still
played
above
14 games.
They're still above 500.
Yep. So you could ask us to do a prediction. Let's say of the next 14 games, let's say they get 14 wins, okay? And then maybe
that's a lot of wins.
That's a lot of wins.
The 10 losses, and let's say they go 14-3-10, you know. I don't know. That's a prediction, but they got to get 7 more wins there. But,
right, but you're extrapolating from where we are now.
Basically, that would be a fair extrapolation.
Well, okay. So, and I'm only changing this up, not because this isn't interesting, but we have like 5 minutes left. I wanted to ask the question, is there a coach in this league whose job should be in danger?
In the Premier League?
In the CPL.
Adam, if you want to take that question first, yeah.
Because I have thoughts.
That's a tough one.
Because, go ahead.
It's a tough call. You know what? Like, I think everyone's pretty much an even Steven right now. But if I had to kind of put a coach in the hot seat right now, I'd have to say Jim Brennan in New York.
York?
York United. Because they've always been tapped as like the glamour club, like outside of George and Calgary. Like when soccer was always like tapping like the glamour club with the crowd doing that like last year.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they just haven't lived up to the hype, to be honest.
Okay, so for you, Joseph, anybody sticking out at you?
Nobody has stuck out to me in terms of being under the hot seat. I guess if I would just say quickly, it kind of just relates back to the idea this is the second full year for a lot of these coaches to get some experience at the helm. I mean, Atletico Ottawa, they're the newest expansion team. They just played their first home games this month. Their head coach Mista, he's getting a taste of what it's like to coach a Premier League club now for a full season. They're last place right now, and so is FC Edmonton. But it's a culture of building a new identity, I guess, in these new clubs. Halifax, they're at the bottom of the table, but Stephen Hart has had the health issues, and I hope that the man is doing better now. I haven't heard any updates on him recently, but their assistant coach has been coaching them all season.
Well, since like early injury. July, right?
Yeah.
So
it would have been July. Yeah.
So fair enough. But I mean, the Wanderers also have a lot of injury problems and stuff like that right now. For me, Atletico Ottawa would be on the chopping block, but for it being really, honestly, their first full season, as you mentioned, first home games. They played in the tournament in PEI last year, but again, does that count? Right? Like it doesn't really. But they're the only team that had the benefit of like a preseason or something close to it, so the money behind that team, I think the expectations are a lot higher given who the ownership group is and the resources at their disposal and all of that. So I mean, if they get rid of Mista, there's always Mark Dos Santos, who's now looking for a job. So
it's true.
Former Vancouver Whitecaps coach.
Mark Dos Santos. I was gonna say Mark Dos Santos. Like now, he's gonna be tapped for something in the CPL. I wouldn't be surprised if someone picks him up next year.
Well, that's just it. If he becomes available all of a sudden, and he's Spanish, isn't he? Like he's from Spain, Spanish. So Atletico,
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't they? I'm pretty sure he was, isn't he? I could be wrong.
I'm not sure.
But
I'm not sure.
But if they get rid of Mista, they got another Spanish guy to slide in there. Atletico Madrid keeping the Spanish connection alive, all of that. So, I mean, there's options. But we are out of time. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I've been joined by Joseph Bernacki, Winnipeg print journalist, and Adam Johnston, founding member, one of the founding members of Red River Rising. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me. For everybody out there,
thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, gentlemen, you're always welcome. Always welcome. So we'll be in touch. We'll connect all this stuff up. But just to say goodbye to everyone out there, follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. And don't forget that you can call or text the WPG Sports Line, which is 431-800-4555. Greatly appreciate you guys. So fire in the comments what you thought of the show, anything we missed, didn't think of, whether you agreed or disagreed with anything. Let us know. We broadcast on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube simultaneously. So whichever platform you're on, feel free to comment away. And we will see you next time in the LZ.